Okay, I've got a question. What do a laminated family recipe, an awkward teenage flashback, and writer's block have in common?
Well, somehow, believe it or not, they're all key plot points in 2022's A Kismet Christmas. We've got a lot to talk about, Josh.
We absolutely do, Jennifer, and we'll unwrap it all on this episode of Do You Watch What I Watch?
If you like holiday movies from the classics to newbies, let's sit down and watch, then have a talk with Jennifer and Josh. Sit down and watch, then have a talk with Jennifer and Josh.
Hi, friends. I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Josh, and welcome back for another episode of Do You Watch What I Watch? And Jennifer, I think we've got a pretty good one on our hands for this episode.
The buzz around this one was not as much on the front end, but since then, it's all I've heard about in the hoods, the
Tell me
the
more.
regions of the interwebs. People are just loving it. They were very surprised pleasantly about it, and they're really eating it up, much like a
Well,
cookie.
much like a cookie that you have to chase down because there's tradition and legend and mystery and maybe a little magic connected to it.
Just a pinch. Yep,
Hmm.
just a pinch.
But before we get into it, we wanted to remind folks about our website, Jennifer, that we want folks watching these along with us, right?
Yes, so we have graciously to help the people, we're givers. We have made a spreadsheet that if you go to our website at doyouwatchwhatIwatch.com, there'll be one of those, what are they called? The movie clackers. Do they have a name?
Yes, a clapboard, maybe one of those action,
Clapboards,
one of those things.
action
Yeah.
things. If you click on that, it will take you to a link to download all 20 movies that we are watching and reviewing this season, and you can check them off as we go along. It has premiere dates, network names, all that, and then you can also fill out your own score and kind of play along and see if we agree with your opinions.
And
And
you
it's
know what
okay
I
if we
might
don't.
even, yeah. And you know what I might even think might be fun? If people wanted to record themselves on their cell phone, giving us like a 30-second snapshot, they should just email it to us and we could fold it in to the podcast and get a little bit of viewer feedback in on this too.
You should. That'd be awesome. Yeah. If you also go to our website and you click on the little, I think it's a envelope or a letter logo, it'll give you our email address. Do you watch what I watch at gmail.com?
Yeah, we'd love to hear
It's
from
long, we
folks.
know, but yes,
Yeah, I mean,
we would. That'd be so fun.
that's what you get. Yeah. All right. So let's hear the IMDb and then we will get into the conversation. What's the plot summary here, Jennifer?
So, a children's author reconnects with her hometown, family, and teenage crush while confronting a legend that may actually be true.
Now, you actually were the one who drafted this when we did our big draft episode. What was it about this description? Because this is pretty vague here. What was it about this description that piqued up your little elf ears?
Elf Ears did not peak based on the description. It was purely because of Sarah Ramos. I was a
Hmm.
big Parenthood fan, and I also listened to the Gilmore Guys podcast, which talks about Gilmore Girls, and she was big on that as a guest from time to time. So it's only because of her. That's the only reason, the leading lady.
Has she done any of these movies before, or is this her sort of
Yeah, I
first
think this is the
foray?
first one. I think this is the first one. And spoiler alert, I think she did a great job. But this synopsis, it says reconnects with her hometown. It's not her hometown.
No, it's not her hometown. Seems like kind of
Grandma
an oversight.
Mia's
It's Grandma Mia's
hometown.
hometown. Exactly. Now she
Yeah.
has connections here because we find out in the movie, and we'll get into it, that she goes here every summer, blah, 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 when she was growing up. So, but yeah, I caught on to that too. And I thought, ow, come on, guys. This is Hallmark. Get
I
it
know.
together. Yeah.
Let's try a little harder, but whatever. Let's get into it. So the movie opens with Sarah Grace. She's played by Sarah Ramos. So at least we don't have to do any confusing name changes there with the Sarah thing. She is an author and she's reading to a bunch of kiddos at a bookstore with a preview of her second book. In, I guess it's a seemingly popular series, or they want it to be. And they had this big contest for all the kiddos to see whoever won and submitted their ideas to, I guess, her publisher. Sarah Grace would travel to their town and meet the child and kind of hang out with them at the holidays. So it's
Hmm.
announced that Sarah Grace is going to travel to New Britain, Maine, and she's not happy about it.
Oh, so that's where New Britain is. I never picked up on what state this is, but Maine. Okay. Yeah,
This is
so
what I wrote down.
it all starts basically in this Barnes and Noble. And early on, we get this and we said it in the open. we get this really awkward flashback. What did you think about this flashback, Jennifer?
I wrote this flashback montage is dot 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 something. It was I thought it was a little skeevy at first because so it has grown adults playing awkward teenagers and they, put braces on them, change their hair and their clothing to kind of and put a little filter on the screen to make sure you know that it's not current day. But so I didn't love the montage. I thought it was a little jarring, but I guess we needed it because we had to tell the story somehow. But did
Yeah,
we need
so
it with
what
them?
we
Could we have casted other people to play
yeah,
them instead?
that's a great question because it seemed to me like the montage went on really long for what it was trying to do because it was trying to set the scene that she was in her grandma's kitchen and grandma has this recipe that's connected to their family and this house for these Kismet cookies, and people come from all over town because the legend behind the Kismet cookie is if you put it under your pillow you will sleep and dream of your true love, and that will be exactly what happens here. So of course she's, how old do we think she is at this time? Like 16, 17 years old in this
Yeah,
flashback,
something
Sarah?
like
Yeah,
that.
something like
Hmm.
that. Anyway, so she sneaks one of these Kismet cookies because apparently must be 18 or 21 to participate in the Kismet. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah,
But
you have to be able to buy cigarettes or alcohol before you're allowed a Kismet cookie.
so she grabs one of these and she puts it under her pillow and she dreams about the boy across the street, right?
Travis. Hmm.
Travis, exactly. And prior to her doing all of this, she has, of course, a run in with Travis, and there's obviously some flirty tension there, and the two of them very clearly like each other. So, if you're a 16, 17-year-old girl and you have this flirty run in with a boy, of course, you're probably going to dream about him. But we're led to believe it's because of the Kismet cookie that she dreams about him all night long. She wakes up the next morning, which is Christmas morning, mind you, and
Mm.
storms across the street, basically walks right into his house, and he's getting married.
Just right there in the living room. Yep.
I was like, what? Like, it was a very awkward moment and a weirdo plot twist for me out of the gate with this one.
And see, I didn't even think Travis was flirting with her in the flashback. I thought he was more treating her like little sister. We've grown up
Oh,
around each other when she visits Grandma Mia, that kind of thing.
I could
So
see
I
it.
was
Yeah.
cringing even before she went across the street because I thought, girl, he didn't like you. I just was worried for Sarah's heart.
Yeah.
And I was right.
Yeah. And so he's obviously like, it's not going to happen. She runs across the street and is downtrodden in the worst way. She grabs the Kismet cookie recipe and rips it up violently.
It was a very teen angsty moment. It was a choice. So after that, we kind of come out of the flashback and we learn that she hasn't been to New Britain since then, and Travis moved away, but his parents still lived across the street from Grandmommy, I guess. So she's not really excited about going to New Britain, but she also is in charge of finishing writing book number 2 because Benny is her agent and he's kind of hounding her to get to work on wrapping up this second story, and she has writer's block.
Problematic. So
Mm.
apparently she's going to hopefully go here, do the appearance that she needs to related to the book. And I guess they want you to think that she's sort of like a J.K. Rowling. Is that sort of the implication here that she's,
I guess so. She has a big, young adult cult following
it's
going
kind
on.
of
Yeah.
that sort of a vibe anyway. So she goes off to New Britain and she shows up to her grandma Mia's house. Grandma Mia looks exactly the same as she did from the flashback. So they didn't necessarily do a great job of making her appear all that much older, although,
I think that's just she's played by Mary Lou Henner, and Mary Lou Henner hasn't aged as long as I've been alive either.
well,
So
touche, exactly,
must
right?
have an excellent skincare routine.
Something. Grandma Mia has got it going on. Yeah, it must be the Kismet. It's the Kismet, is what it is.
Oh, it's the Kismet.
It's the
True.
Kismet. Yeah. So grandma, of course, has some crazy gal pals who are there. And I don't know, Jennifer, did you recognize one of these gal pals?
Oh, should I have? Was she in Pumpkin Pie Wars?
Exactly.
Well, I didn't realize it at the time, but as soon as you said that, I tried to block that movie out from my memory. It
Oh,
wasn't at the forefront.
is that some shade? That feels like some shade right there. Okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Noted.
But now that you
Anyway.
say that, I'm so glad to have seen her again. She is good in that kind of role.
Yeah, she is. So they all go to a Charles Dickens shindig downtown, and we get a lot of Charles Dickens apparel and references and moments throughout this entire movie. This is clearly a small town in Maine that loves them some Charles Dickens Christmas vibes.
Do you think they shared the costumes from We Wish You a Merry Christmas? Because last week's episode also had some Dickens attire.
Without a doubt, they're sharing costumes because those are some expensive looking garments to create and maintain. So they are without a doubt sharing these costumes between these.
Yeah, there's no polyester there. It's some thick, sturdy
No.
material.
Sturdy materials throughout. Yeah. So they go to this whole shindig so that Sarah can announce the big winner of this contest. And it's this girl. It turns out her name is Jasmine, also known as Jazzy, which I thought was kind of a cute nickname for. Oh,
you liked it? I kind
I
of cringed every time
did.
they said Jazzy.
So
We
anyway,
can
she
agree to
winds up.
disagree on that.
I think we will agree to disagree. And so she wins the contest, and her dad, of course, is Travis. So we early on learn that her one-time love interest, even though he may not have felt the same way in the moment, is now very much involved in her modern day situation, which, by the way, the moment that he sort of reveals that he knows who she is perhaps the cringiest moment in this entire thing.
That's
Did you
so
think so?
creepy. Yes, I wrote it and highlighted it. So he is dressed up as Father Christmas. And so he has
Santa
the
Claus,
weird
for
kind of,
those of us who are
yeah, the
not
Santa
fancy.
Claus fake beard. Well, they called him Father Christmas. So that's why I wrote it down. And so he turns and creepily says, I remember that smile. Hey, Sarah Bear.
It was so creepy. So think for a second, if you've not heard a nickname or seen a one-time love interest in what, maybe 15, 20 years at this point, maybe.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's just this creepy blast from the past in this voice. I mean, I can understand how creepy that would be for somebody.
So creepy. I mean, the only saving grace is that she is in that town, so he was already on her mind. But imagine if she was like in New York or Chicago and that happened. You would be like, stranger danger. Who is this person? It wouldn't, the dots would not have connected for me. But
No, not at
Sarah
all.
Bear and Travis are reconnected, and she gets freaked out. And she's like, I
Big
can't
time.
deal with this. This is too much. And she debates leaving to go home. It's very dramatic. But then Travis and Jazzy come over to Grandma Mia's house and kind of convince her to stay and give it a go for the holiday season.
And they do this because he shows up with her favorite treat, roasted chestnuts. Have you ever? No, there's no way roasted chestnuts are anybody's favorite treat ever.
I don't think I've ever eaten a chestnut. Is that
Thank
or
you.
water chestnuts? Are those the same thing? Like those big things that come in the planters mix at the holidays?
I have no idea.
I don't
But
know.
my point being,
yeah.
it's a stretch. It's a stretch. Yeah.
It is. They really just went down the Rolodex. What food is mentioned in Christmas carols? Figgy pudding, no. Cookies, too bland. Roasted chestnuts.
Let's go with that. Right. They're just trying to check a box here. And he's obviously trying to have this very serious conversation with her, still dressed in his Santa Claus costume, mind you, at this point. So it's just, I can't take him seriously in all of this. And she decides that she's going to help Jazzy with Jazzy's book project, which basically involves collecting books to give away and all of this. And of course, she's
Sort
an
of like an
author.
angel tree for
Sounds
books.
like it, yeah.
Like
an
you
angel
can
book
pull
tree.
a name off of a tree, and that's if you can kind of fulfill somebody's wish for a book, which I thought was a very sweet idea. Very sweet for her at her age to think of that kind of thing. I thought that was cute. So she deserved to win.
There
Go
you
Jazzy.
Go Jazzy. Jasmine. If you don't like the nickname.
Yeah.
So Grandma decides to take Sarah. So Grandma Mia takes Sarah to Patsy's Candy Corner. And Patsy is one of her gal pals that's been in this town for a very long time. And Patsy, by the way, is an actress who was in Pumpkin Pie, one of my classic favorites from season 1 of Do You Watch What I Watch. Obviously, Jennifer disagrees on
I
that.
mean, obviously, at the end of this season, we're gonna have to do a super ranking, won't we? And we'll just
Oh,
kind of
for
have a
sure.
power ranking of all the movies from season 1.
It's like it's NCAA football.
Everybody will be clamoring for that, I'm sure. And
Clamoring.
Pumpkin Pie Wars, is it currently your top choice?
I don't know. Maybe. Although October
Have to find out.
Kiss might be up there too. I mean, yeah, we've had some
Okay,
good
we
ones.
digress. Moving on.
We
Yeah,
digress.
anytime
Anyway,
Sarah and the biddies, the old lady biddies in town are together, I'm happy.
yeah,
I'm there for it.
they definitely had good chemistry. You could tell that they were having a good time making this movie, but they have some cheesy lines too. One of them is this: if there's no love, there's no magic. Because they're talking about the kismet and the cookies and the whole 9 yards, whatever. And so the gals go for tea. The mayor of this town shows up and flirts with Patsy, and they convince Sarah to be a part of this scavenger hunt that they're doing in town the next day. So we're going to get a scavenger hunt montage at some point too.
Love it. Here
Yeah.
for it.
So we cut to the library, and there's more. Well, I guess it's actually a bookstore, right? Yeah,
I think
something.
so. Yeah.
A place with books. Yeah. And we get some flirty chat between the two of them. They're unpacking their history for Jazzy. And so I thought I wrote this down. This is really a cheesy line. You were the reason I got my first library card, is what he says to her.
I mean, that's some kind of influence, I guess, that
I guess
she's really
so.
impacted his life.
I love for
Not enough
reading.
to have like actually tried to date her back in the day.
I mean, God forbid. Right? Seriously. So cut to the scavenger hunt, which lasts all of 45 seconds. It's like they wanted it to be a plot point, but didn't really want it to be a plot point.
He must have cut a scene. Yeah,
I
it
think so.
kind of fell flat a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah. So the big question throughout the early part of this movie is, should they revive the whole Kismet cookie tradition? Because of course Sarah ripped up the recipe, and now you've got Patsy who's looking for love. You've got Sarah who's looking for love. You've got potentially other people in town who are looking for love. Should they revive the Kismet cookie tradition?
You're telling me Grandma Mia couldn't remember any part of the recipe to reconnect or to, because didn't she say she kind of just put ingredients in as she felt, like she didn't really measure anything? You're telling me she didn't have any recall of this magical recipe after Sarah Bear ripped it up? I don't believe it.
I don't believe it either. I thought the exact same thing. I thought it was a little far-fetched to think that she wouldn't be able to remember it if it was, as you said, just so kind of willy-nilly.
Maybe she did remember it and she just didn't want to do it anymore. She's like, the price of ingredients have gone up. I'm going to Aldi. I'm trying to source all this stuff, and all these scoundrels just barge in my house, steal my cookies, and then I'm left with nothing.
Right? The amount of butter that goes into these things. I mean, they're like $1 million Kismet cookies, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cut to the town square. She runs into Helen. Now, Helen is a woman in the flashback who stopped by Grandma Mia's house to pick up a Kismet cookie and used it. And in present day, Helen's like, hey, look over there. That's the man I dreamt about. He's now my husband. And now we have 2 babies. And it's sort of this full circle moment that says, aha, the Kismet cookies work. So,
yep.
Cut
I
back.
just gotta wonder. So, do these people never dream about anybody until they have the cookie under their pillow? Like, I have a lot of people going in my dreams, not in a loving way, but just like people are always traipsing around in my dreams, and there's no cookie under my pillow.
That's exactly right. Maybe, or is it the point that the cookie then allows you to assign a meaning to it that otherwise would just be a normal dream?
I guess so.
I don't
That's some
know.
kind of Cupid cookie kind of shenanigans there.
And how comfortably are you going to sleep if there's actually a cookie? And mind you, it's not a cookie. It's like a cookie with a gift bag with like a bell on it. There's a whole thing.
It's like a velvet pouch that is kind of like that Crown Royal bag, like with the booze. If you've ever, it's like a smaller version of that with this cookie.
With like a Christmas tree stuck on the front of it, kind of thing.
On it or something.
Yeah. Not
how long before Hallmark starts selling these bags, do we think?
Oh, for sure. And are we to think that they're just picking up these little satchels for these things at I don't know, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, something like that? Or are they making that in addition to the
Can you
cookie?
order them in bulk, or has Grandma Mia been making them all along? That would be
Do you
another
find
reason
that?
I would stop the tradition. Be like, oopsie doodle, she ripped the recipe.
There
Shop's
you go.
closed. I'm not making any more velvet bags. Forget it.
Right? Or do you find those on, say, Oriental Trading, or do they just magically appear? I have questions.
More
I have
questions than
questions.
answers. That
More?
only continues,
I know,
honestly.
right? So, cut to this book wrapping scene that we get because, of course, Jazzy isn't just collecting the books. They've actually got to wrap these books too as part of their whole giveaway endeavor. And so we get Sarah confessing that she's uninspired about her writing effort, right? And
And she
he
says, if
says,
I'm not a writer, I don't know what I am.
crisis of consciousness for her, for sure. Yeah.
It's not be, you can't have your whole identity tied to that, Sarah Bear. It's going to be okay.
Get it together, Sarah Bear. You are so much more than what you do.
That's
Ugh,
right.
exactly. Find what's really in your. See, we should be writing these things, is what it comes down to, Jennifer. Maybe that's how we finally make money on this endeavor, is we
I
actually
think,
start writing Hallmark Christmas movies.
yes, I think Sarah Bear needs some therapy. And
She
she'll be okay.
does. She needs therapy, not necessarily a Kismet cookie. Yeah. Anyway, he says that he's her oldest friend, and then they eat fudge, is what I wrote in my notes.
There's a lot of fudge.
There's a lot of fudge.
I think every Hallmark movie has one snack too that they're really set on. They're like, we're going to feature a lot of the. I did hear somebody else say that we referred to We Wish You a Merry Christmas, we called it macaroons, and I think it's macarons.
Anyway.
Macarons are the cookie. Macaroons have the coconut on top, I think. And so
Oh.
if anybody was cringing in their car listening to me say macaroon 1,000 times, I don't eat either, and I'm sorry.
Well, that's just the West Virginia in us coming out, isn't it?
We can't help it. When are we going to get some pepperoni rolls up in
Right. Come on.
movies?
Get me some Calasesnos, pepperoni rolls, Country Club Bakery. That's exactly what we need
Tudor's
to do here.
Biscuit World.
Tudor's
Come
Biscuit
on.
World. Come on. They should
Tudor,
sponsor the
Tudor's.
podcast. Brought to you
Maybe
by
they would.
Tudor's Biscuit World.
Oh, we can only dream. All right.
Right.
That's a very deep cut for our West Virginia listeners. But anyways.
Deep cut. We'll tag them on the post. Maybe they'll start listening. Maybe they'll sponsor us. And then we will wear Tudor's t-shirts on our YouTube channel every time.
I have no problem with a Tudor's t-shirt. Our face glistening with buttered biscuit. Come on.
Always. Always.
That's a Merry Christmas right there.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, so Sarah Bear has writer's block. And so they're sitting at the end of the pier. We learn that Travis works for the Forestry Service, and he's in his full regalia from that. And there's always this back and forth throughout the movie that one throws a snowball at the other because it's kind of just their thing, I guess.
Of course. Yeah. And
we
so,
learned that he has been divorced a while.
Yeah.
Which
and
I'm
his
glad they cleared
ex-wife's
that up.
name, I was so glad they cleared it up because I actually wrote early on, he's very flirty with her throughout, and they've never had a conversation about whether he's still married, what happened to the woman, what's his status. And we get that Crystal, of course it's Crystal, his ex, is off, quote unquote, chasing her musical dreams. And I wrote, I bet she's in Nashville somewhere.
Chasing that neon rainbow. Living that honky tonk dream.
Down on Lower Broadway, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. We've probably passed Crystal a time or two. So it's just Travis and Jazzy holding down the fort back in Maine.
Back in Maine. Speaking of Jazzy, she's 10 years old and she's ready for her first sleepover, and dad is freaking out about it, right? So they drop her
very
off.
Overprotective, very worried. It was cute, actually.
It was cute. Yeah. And so Sarah actually tries to sort of talk him off the ledge about it, which I thought was kind of a good little moment there. The mayor is having Patsy over for dinner, and Patsy and the girls are all spun up in a tizzy. And we get what I think is one of the funniest lines in this movie when someone says, "A necklace is gateway jewelry."
What's funny?
Apparently someone saw the mayor shopping for a piece of jewelry for a necklace, and now they think that they're just seconds from getting engaged. So do you consider,
having never gone on a date?
Right. Do you consider a necklace gateway jewelry?
I mean, I guess It shows a level of adoration at the very least.
I'll give you
So I
that.
guess it is kind of an on-ramp. I mean, I think it would probably go bracelet, necklace, ring, if I had to guess and rank
Mm,
them. So yeah, if we skip bracelet and went straight to necklace, they're not wrong. It is a gateway.
there
You
you
don't buy
go.
necklaces for people just casually, usually.
Just just no casual necklace. Generally, there's a sentimentality or a meaning behind it. Okay, there you go.
Mhm. Mhm.
You heard it here first. Brought to you by Jared, the Galleria of Jewelry. Speaking of
Maybe
shopping, cut
that's
to
what
a
we do. We just start doing ads for things even though we're not sponsored at all. And maybe
right.
one
I
day
think we should.
they'll be like, hey, that's pretty good.
That was pretty good. We should send them $10. So they go on a shopping trip, and lo and behold, I have to say, lo and behold, in at least every episode, by the way, Jennifer, just so you know,
Yeah, put it on a
they
t-shirt.
stumble upon Christmas trivia, and they basically have kind of what looks a lot like a pseudo date, the two of them.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
she offers him some girly wisdom, which I thought was kind of a good scene. This is obviously the part in the movie where you're seeing that they both have mutual interest in one another.
Yes, they did have great chemistry throughout. I'll give them that. After
I
the
thought so.
flashback, I didn't buy it, but in present day, the chemistry was there, even though it started out creepy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're going to get a tree selection scene because, of course, it is just days before Christmas. And even though Travis plays the role of Father Christmas, they do not yet have a Christmas tree in their home. So apparently, one does not just go to a Christmas tree farm in this little Maine village. They're actually going to go out into the woods, and he wears a very large scarf. No, I'm sorry. She wears a very large scarf, and he has a very large axe. And so they're walking through the woods. She almost slips and falls, and he catches her. It's sort of the whoopsie do. Here we go. Light, innocent physical contact, kind of dreamy eye kind of scene, right?
Mhm.
And he suddenly reveals out of nowhere that he is now the owner of this totally baller cabin in the middle of the woods, right?
Yeah. It was his
And
uncle's cabin. Yeah.
literally his uncle's cabin that he inherited. And lo and behold, he has teed this up as sort of a writing sesh, like an impromptu writing sesh for her. And he is going to make a garland for the tree while she writes.
If this had been on Lifetime, kidnapping her, taking her phone, and whisking her away to a cabin in the woods would be much more creepy
Yes,
because
exactly. And would
it's
not have
bold
ended the
move.
way this did. Yes. I mean, because
No.
she winds up finishing the book, and she realizes, and we realize along with her, that she is falling hard for Travis at this point. Yeah. So
And she asks Benny, her agent, to read the book on Christmas Eve. She sends it to him. I have to know what you think.
I have to know.
Maybe
Exactly.
Benny's got some obligations and some family stuff going on. Come on, give
Or
him the
other
night
clients.
off.
My goodness. Can't be.
Yeah. Very
Come on.
presumptuous.
Very
Sarah Bear.
presumptuous. Sarah Bear. Come on. And so she suddenly decides that she has got to do Kismet cookies, and she sees the panel on the wall where the recipe is, and maybe, just maybe, Jennifer, the recipe's in there. And so what does she do?
She opens the door. It's very dramatic. And there it is, a laminated version of the recipe, all pieced together.
Magical. We get wind
Has it
chimes
been in
and
there the whole time? Like Grandma Mia just immediately taped it back together, stuck it through a laminator, was like, this will come in handy one day. She'll come back for it. She'll come
one
around.
day, one day,
Or
which
are
sort
we
of
led to
makes you
believe it
wonder.
truly is this magic? Oh, where did it come from? We
One
don't
does not
know.
know. One does not
Yeah.
know. It's up to you to decide. And so
Mhm.
she makes some Kismet cookies. She gives one to Patsy. The agent arrives, loves the manuscript, didn't just call her back, actually traveled to Maine to deliver the news firsthand that the manuscript was killer, maybe better than her first book. Grandma, out of nowhere, kind of reveals she's going to take a job overseas.
Well, thank God, because there was all this little subtle buildup of Grandma Mia was kind of trying to pawn off some of her stuff to Sarah. She was packing, she was clearing out things. She didn't know how much she'd be around. And I thought, they're going to kill off Grandma Mia. And I was going to be really upset about it. So thank God she's just going to teach English abroad and she's not
Mhm,
dying.
mhm. So what we get here is it kind of gets yada 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 really quickly here at the end, because we find out that Jazzy stole a couple of the cookies, put a cookie under her dad's pillow, also put one under Sarah's. Lo and behold, they both dreamt of each other. They wake up the next morning on Christmas, realize it, have a moment, and kind of it's all over.
Well, there was a fake out though, because Travis goes across the street to Grandma Mia's and they say, "Oh, she left. Sarah's not here." Well, really, Sarah
Oh,
had taken
true.
Benny to the airport, so she was coming back, but he thought, "No, I've lost her forever." So I thought that was kind of a little fun fake out.
Yeah, we did
But
get
yes,
that
then
brief
they
fake out.
embrace. Did they need the cookie to know that they were in love with each other?
I don't think so.
They were together exclusively the entire holiday season.
Yeah, and very clearly had feelings for one another. So, yeah.
Okay, time for our gold or coal segment where we each give 3 gifts. If it's more gold, it's adorable. Like adorable, but dough. Josh didn't hear this beforehand. He's rolling his eyes at me. If it's more coal, it's the cookie crumbled. And if it's a
Yeah,
tie, it's just a meh, re-Christmas.
I like it. I am here for the puns. And I am going to start, Jennifer, and give a little bit of gold here. I do think that the chemistry between these two throughout the movie was pretty great. I thought
Mm-hmm.
it was believable. I liked both of these actors, and I thought that they were good leads in this movie.
Well, that was my first as well. So I will move to my second one and I'll think of something else. My first gold is Sarah Ramos. I enjoyed her a lot in this movie. I thought she was not overly like cliche or cheesy. I thought she did a great job of kind of being more down to earth character and relatable.
Yeah. I'm going to give some gold here. I thought that there was just enough reference to magic without it being too much magical, right? I thought it was, there were some elements where you're like, oh, is there magic or is this just the way things go? And it was in the moment pretty believable. Now that we're actually talking about it, I think it was probably a little cheesier than I thought, but I'm still going to give it gold.
Well, I was going to give it coal because I
Oh,
wish there had been a little bit more magic. And I
mm,
don't usually like the magical movies, but if we're living in a world where a magical cookie in a velvet bag exists under our pillow, let's double down. Let's get a little bit more magic involved because I think in the middle of the movie, they don't even mention the cookies anymore. So I think we could have had a little bit more magic sprinkled in maybe in the recipe.
I see ya. I see ya. My last one is I'm going to give gold, and I think you might disagree with this, but I actually enjoyed the flashback. I thought it had an interesting way of kind of setting up the backstory here where it wasn't just revealed through conversation. I actually liked some of the references and the way they were dressed, and she had an annoying number of clips in her hair, which made me chuckle. So I did think that that
Been
was
there,
pretty
done
cute.
that.
Been there, done that, right?
Maybe that's why I didn't like it. It reminded me too much of myself at that age. It was too real.
It hit a nerve.
How did you get footage of me in middle school or high school? Weird, Hallmark. My last piece of gold, I'm gonna give it to Jazzy. I didn't love the name Jazzy, so we'll say Jasmine. But I thought again, she was a good child actor, and I enjoyed seeing her. I enjoyed her little story and her idea of the book Angel Tree bit. I thought that was all really sweet.
So bottom line score was 5-1. We had more gold than coal. So overall, we think it's worth your time. We're going to call it adorable. You know, Jennifer, I think that this was a good one. Will this wind up being one of the best ones for me? Probably not. Does it live up to all of the post movie hype? I don't know. What do you think?
Like I told you, I saw so much hype for it before I'd watched it. And I thought, oh, this is gonna be fantastic. And I don't know that it lived up to that hype. I don't know that I would make an appointment viewing to watch it again. If it's on, I won't turn the channel though. So it's
Yeah.
just probably going to end up at the end of the season in the power rankings that we've advertised, be
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in the middle, I would
Yeah,
guess.
I agree.
Yeah. But it was good. It was solid. It was a different story for sure, one we hadn't seen before. So I will give them all the credit for that. And that, friends, is another episode of Do You Watch What I Watch?
Hey, we want to give a special thanks to Nick Schwartz for our theme song, and of course, to all of you for listening. If you like our podcast, tell a friend, like us, subscribe, We're also on Facebook and Instagram at Do You Watch What I Watch? So give us a follow, leave us a comment, be social with us on social media. And you can also check with us on our website at doyouwatchwhatiwatch.com.
Next time, we've got a new one from Great American Family coming your way.
Yes, this was one of my draft picks, Catering Christmas. The lowdown from IMDb reads as follows: Molly Frost, a struggling new catering business owner, lands on New Hampshire's biggest event of the year. And that's it. No
That's
more.
what it said on IMDb. So here we are. We will have much to discuss. And until then,
May your days be merry and bright. We'll see you next time.